सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate. Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the nation to really come on together because it is now Donald Trump versus India. Donald Trump is foolishly, continuously, and desperately announcing a trade war day after day. He keeps escalating it. And he's just announced about an hour back about total of cumulatively 50% tariffs on India. That's 25% that was already there, and additional 25% because we are buying oil from Russia. So reciprocal and additional 50% MAGA Donald Trump tariffs for India. And we say tonight to Donald Trump, bring it on. Bring it on, ladies and gentlemen. And that's been our response. We've told them that you can't touch us. You can't really impact us. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm going to give you several reasons why we're going to fight back. But before that, keep in mind I have with me in my hand today what I believe is the strongest ever statement that the government of India has issued against the United States of America. And we are so proud, so incredibly proud of the Narendra Modi government for saying through an official statement to the United States of America, to Donald Trump, that India is a large and powerful country and a proud country. You can go and try bully someone else. We are going to stare you back. We are not going to negotiate on these terms. Negotiations do not happen like this. So the exact words are here. We have already made it clear, the Modi government says, our position on these issues, including the fact that our imports are based on market factors and done with the singular objective of ensuring the energy security of 1.4 billion people of India. It is extremely unfortunate. The MEA statement says that the US should choose to impose additional tariffs on India for actions that several other countries are also taking in their own national interest. This is unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable, and India will take all actions necessary to protect its national interests. Statement of the Ministry of External Affairs. But you know what I love about this statement, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is a statement from the Ministry of External Affairs, from the spokesperson in the Ministry of External Affairs. Narendra Modi is not even engaging with Trump. Narendra Modi is not even issuing a soundbite against Trump. Narendra Modi is not even personally responding on social media to Trump. This is absolutely brilliant because the way Narendra Modi is behaving is the way a statesman like Prime Minister of India does. Donald Trump does not understand statesmanship. Narendra Modi is getting an official in the Ministry of External Affairs to respond to Trump. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Vladimir Putin is not even engaging with Trump. Dmitry Medvedev is engaging with Trump. In our case, the Ministry of External Affairs is engaging with Trump. Trump can shout and scream as much as he wants. But the government of India's position is absolutely clear. We do not need to dignify Donald Trump's undignified words with similar rhetoric. We respond like this. But ladies and gentlemen, how stumped Trump looked when a reporter asked him, what about America buying uranium hexafluoride, among other things, from Russia? What about the United States of America doing so much trade with Russia and then preaching to us? A stumped Donald Trump said something like this. Watch this.
India says that the US imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
So he dodges. He says, I do not know anything about it. Next question, please. He wants to quickly pivot himself away from the question. He knows he's stuck. Donald Trump, in his body language there, looks completely beaten because he knows his entire issue is one in which he has no moral position, because America does tons of business with Russia but does not want us to buy Russian oil. Ladies and gentlemen, interestingly, the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval in Moscow, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, announcing he will go to China, he will go to Japan. So life goes on, and Trump is extremely irritated right now after his own hypocrisy has been exposed. Here are 5 reasons why India should fight back. And before I go into the 5 reasons, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pivotal moment in our history. This is not a challenge to us, it is an opportunity to emerge, ladies and gentlemen, as leaders of the truly free world. The world that is free of Trumponomics and Trumpopolitics, the world which is fed up of Donald Trump. And trust me, a lot of countries that even have done business with Donald Trump are fed up with him. So reason number 1 tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we must seize the moment to assert ourselves as the undisputed leader of the global South. This is the time to send a clear message to the world. India will not bow to American bullying, and everyone will be standing in applause for us, including Japan, which reluctantly agreed to the 15% tariff from the original 25% imposed by the US. South Korea reluctantly agreed to 15% from the original 25%. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to reluctantly agree to anything. We can agree on our terms, on what we see as fair. So that's a great reason. Second reason why we must not relent is because we can afford to take on America. Here are the numbers. Despite a 44 billion trade deficit on goods, the US actually runs a 40 billion surplus with India if I include services, education, tech, and arms. The US cannot afford to ignore the world's 2nd largest arms importer. Ladies and gentlemen, India bought nearly $15 billion in US arms over 7 years. We account for 8.3% of global imports. But besides that, ladies and gentlemen, besides that, this is a fraction. This is the total impact is going to be 5% of India's total exports. Now, 5% of India's total exports and 0.2% revision in the GDP is something we can risk when we fight the good fight. Ladies and gentlemen, reason number 3, we must, if we don't, then who will? We must counter Trump's unipolarity. Trump says, if you want to trade with me, you will impose 0% tariffs on US goods, and in return, America will impose reciprocal tariffs. These are not fair terms by any stretch of the imagination. Trump has all the right to make America great again. Whether it happens or not, we don't know. But India cannot allow neo-imperialism under the garb of MAGA to allow the luxuries of the developing world on the back of the developed world on the back of the developing nations. If any country can break that cycle, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the only country. We have defied global pressures since independence. We are a proud member of BRICS, G20, SCO, and Quad. We have never believed, we must never believe in global polarity of interests for any one nation. We did not agree to that at the peak of the Cold War. Now we have to ensure independent multipolarity, because Trump has stretched himself too far, ladies and gentlemen. And the other big reason why we must not relent, in fact, this is about protecting simply and only our national interest. We have national interests. Trump wants to protect the interests of American farmers, but Narendra Modi has to protect the interests of Indian farmers. The farmers' interest is paramount. Trump wants us to be forced into a situation where we import huge amounts of genetically modified crops. This will have an impact not just on our farmers, but on our country's health. We cannot allow GMO tsunamis in India. We must not allow it. We must not compromise on issues like non-vegetarian milk and beef. These are not just matters of food safety. There is religious sentiment attached to it. It's not about protecting Indian dairy products. It's about what is going to be an acceptable dairy product in a country which has a large number, a huge percentage of a vegetarian population. This is the reason, the precise reason, why the US has kept a large share of Indian goods like pharma exempt. Trump knows at some level, he knows that Narendra Modi is not going to give in. And that is why he's exempted pharma. Because if he was not to exempt pharma, if he was not to exempt auto parts, if he was not to exempt electronics, then America would be hit hard. So this is all positioning in a way by Donald Trump. He has exempted categories which he knows if he does not exempt, America is going to suffer. So we must protect national interest, and there's nobody better equipped than Narendra Modi to do that. The next point is that we have been preparing for this. This is not a crisis situation for the country. So never believe anyone who tells you this is a crisis, our GDP is going to collapse, our Indian economy will be ruined, markets will tank. No, it did not happen during the pandemic. During the pandemic, people said, the same circuit said there is going to be an economic collapse in India, but NSO data showed that the Indian economy actually rebounded with a 20.1% growth on April-June 2021. We have anticipated external pressure. That's why we have been focusing on PLI, Make in India, and we are the biggest consumption market. So we have huge boosters for Indian consumption. We must not panic. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, here is my prophecy of how things will go around. See, Trump's bark is much louder and appears to be much dangerous than his bite. He actually cannot do anything. He pretends he will. So viewers, see, he's slated to come to India for the Quad Summit. All we have to do is stare him back, say, Mr. Trump, do what you want. We'll be nice to you. When you come here, we'll serve you great Indian food. You can walk around, you can see the development in India, but we will not compromise in the way that you expect us to. And why am I saying that he will eventually relent? Because just see what he did in the case of China. In March 2025, he raised the tariff on Chinese goods to 20%. On April 2nd, 2025, frustrated with the lack of a response from Xi Jinping, he added a 34% reciprocal tariff, cumulative with the previous rates. Shortly after April 2nd, he further raised the tariff by an additional 50%, resulting in an effective rate of 104% on Chinese imports. China still did not respond to him. It was completely passive to all his provocation. Then he got really desperate, and in April, he put further tariffs on China. China did not care about what he did. He says, I'm going to have 145% tariffs on Chinese goods. And then he himself compromised on what he said on May 12th. He himself reduced the tariffs. He brought it down to 30%. And he says, I give you 90 days to negotiate. Point is, viewers, if you stare this man back, this man is a paper tiger. In fact, not even a paper tiger, maybe a paper fox or a wannabe paper tiger. He cannot stand counter pressures. And therefore, we stand our ground right here. This is the nation that has taken on every aggressor. Our nation has to come together right now. Do we face tough times? Do we face an unpredictable foe in this case? I wouldn't use the word enemy, an unpredictable foe. We do. Can we handle Trump? If there's any country in the world which can, it's India. If it's any nation in the world which can, it's India. The nation must come together. This is the time to decide which way to go. To counter Trump, the entire country has to come together. Nation first, no compromise.
India says that the US imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
Unaware and ignorant of his own business with Russia, the President of United States signed an executive order imposing an additional 25% tariff on India. Within an hour, India responded firmly, calling out US hypocrisy. India called US actions unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. While Trump calls this decision a response to India's continued purchase of Russian oil, when asked about his country's trade relationship with Russia, he gets irritated, confused, and says, "I don't know."
India says that the US imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
Going back and forth is not new for Trump. He used this trick with China and is now trying the same with India. But he knows India is one of the biggest market. Hence, he has kept a window open for negotiation. India is not unprepared. Our government has been prepared to the changing world order.
हर बात में स्वदेशी का भाव आने वाले दिनों में हमारा भविष्य तय करने वाला है दोस्त। और भविष्य में वोकल फॉर लोकल, खरीदेंगे तो स्वदेशी खरीदेंगे, घर सजाएंगे तो स्वदेशी से सजाएंगे, जिंदगी बढ़ाएंगे तो स्वदेशी से बढ़ाएंगे। इस मंत्र को लेकर के चल पड़े।
India has always batted for a world order which is not unilateral.
We live in complicated and uncertain times. Our collective desire is to see a fair and representative global order, not one dominated by a few.
There might be a slight drop in our economic parameters, but the nation is prepared.
The Indian economy holds bright prospects in the changing world order, drawing on its inherent strength, robust fundamentals, and comfortable buffers.
Indian government has shown this effectively, that we will not compromise with the interest of farmers, agriculture, and dairy. This is no more about Trump and his whims. It's Trump versus India.
Okay, pro-Trump tonight, Anand Ahuja from New York. Greg Swanson, chairman of the Republic Overseas UK. He's a media commentator. He's joining us from London, totally pro-Trump. We have the great Ajay Bagga with us tonight. Fantastic macro voice tonight. We so love him. We have Jeffrey Caberservice. Jeffrey is director of the Policy Studies, Republican Vice President of Political Studies at the Niskanen Center. He's live from Washington. And we have Saurabh Shukla, our very own Saurabh Shukla from Washington tonight, consulting editor of the Republic Media Network and founder and editor-in-chief of News Mobile. So Saurabh, to start with you, because you're the guy on the ground, what's happening here? I mean, is this rehearsed, played out? Because he made the announcement just after his own envoy, Witkoff, had a 180-minute meeting with Vladimir Putin. So did something happen in Moscow to trigger this?
Well, absolutely. Arnab, I think I like the China analogy of how President Trump has gone back and forth on China. He has been using these tariffs as more of a negotiating tactic.
Yep.
He realizes the fact that the negotiations with India were happening at a feverish pace. There were certain red lines that India had drawn, and rightly so. India told the US interlocutors that the national interest of India cannot be compromised. That's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's India, a new India. So clearly that message has gone loud and clear to Washington. Coming to President Trump, if you see clause 4 of the presidential proclamation as well, there is a clear window that gives us where this is headed. President Trump has also clearly indicated if the circumstances change and also if the senior officials advise him to do so in a manner other than this proclamation, this will change. So the underlying basis of what's happening. He's using this as a tactical, negotiating tactic. He's a businessman. Obviously, there are enough strands that are there in India-US relations today, Arnab. You understand international relations like I do. And I can tell you that there's a lot happening behind the scenes. While, yes, India has come up very strongly. It has said this is disappointed, this is unreasonable because, China is buying almost 200 billion worth of Russian oil. Turkey is buying it. Why not get tariffs from them? So clearly, India is putting its position forward, and I would say that you will see that there is a solution also in sight. I will not go by naysayers who's saying that, everything has gone hunky-dory on this relationship. Right. Yes, it's a big setback of where we were. We had a great relationship, which is there, still there, I can tell you. Privately, if I talk to people in the White House, he says that Donald Trump has the greatest respect for the Prime Minister. And I think that's the reason why I'm confident, and I get a sense that despite all that which is being played out, this is being played out for public gallery and also to demonstrate that he wants more of a bargain, but some kind of a solution can be found, because this relationship is too precious. It impacts the entire world. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he came here, clearly sent out a message that India will not compromise on its national interests, but as friends, we will continue to disagree.
Yes. Arnab? So what I feel is there was nobody who was caught by surprise on this in New Delhi. Absolutely. Because the response of the Ministry of External Affairs, Anand and Greg, was so quick. We basically put it out in seconds. Trump announced this and we put it out in seconds. I think nobody even bothered. It seemed like this statement from India saying, listen, sorry to say this, I'll put it in. It is a polite way of saying go to hell. It is a very polite way of saying that, saying, listen, please kindly do what you want to do. We will do what we have to do. Our national security advisor is in Moscow. The Prime Minister announced he's going to be going to Beijing. He just came back from Brazil. Life goes on. We are not doing anything. And it's a very clear and political position. Also, Anand, this is a political position. This is not an MEA statement. It's a political statement that we are not going to budge. If India goes back on this statement, there'll be political suicide for the government here. So we've already made our position fundamentally clear. We are prepared. We're not budging. You want to budge? Budge. Don't want to budge? Your loss. This is going the China way, in my view. This is going the US-China way, in my view. It's a repeat of that all over again. Anand, your reading, please. Anand.
Arnab, actually, I analyze this whole situation from two angles. Yes. Number one, if you see that geopolitical equation in that particular region, in the last 30 years, there was a time when USA needed India and India needed USA against China. And then Israel-Iran war came up, and then somehow Pakistan again came into the picture, and USA now needs Pakistan also, as well as USA needs India. So you have to look into that shift in the policy of United States because of this geopolitical situation. The second problem I see from a different angle, and for that, if I'm permitted to use this particular couplet, वो कहते हैं कि जरा सी बात पर सदियों के याराने गए, चलो अच्छा हुआ कुछ लोग यूं भी पहचाने गए. So far, India-USA relationship was going on a very smooth track. But unfortunately, and with due respect to anchors like you, who constantly started doing Trump bashing, that has a reaction. I don't understand why people like you cannot be courteous and polite when they are addressing Trump, or for that matter, any political leader of any country. Why you have to every time scream, yell, and accuse Trump? Just now in your monologue, you used the word foolishly Trump imposed this law. You could have also used very polite and parliamentary language, and you made a contradictory statement in your monologue. On one side, you said Trump foolishly imposed this tariff, and then you said that Trump did it for the benefit of its own farmers in America. We are doing for the benefit of our own farmers in India. Trump is doing for his own farmers in United States. So contradictory statement with lot of unparliamentary language.
Okay.
Now people like you have
I think you must be one minute. Anand, you are using this opportunity to get a promotion in the Republican Party.
Please let me complete my sentence. Okay. India is not the isolated country which is facing this tariff. Canada has 35%. Even allies like European Union, Japan, these countries are also being imposed tariff. But none of these countries is doing Trump bashing the way people like you are doing in India. So you are probably, I think, the worst enemies of India who are trying to derail United States-India relationship. I'm sorry to say that.
No,
but you can be very
don't
polite.
have to be sorry.
We can have an intellectual discussion. Why you have to scream, yell, and every time call names to Trump?
Listen. First of all, now you spoke a lot. You're going to have to listen to me now. Because I wanted to discuss Trump, I wanted to discuss trade, you want to discuss me. But I don't think I'm that important. But since you made a few personal remarks, I will respond to you. Okay? First of all, nobody in his right mind, no sane person will say that the use of the word foolish is an unparliamentary word. I will repeat to you today. I will repeat to you on your face, Anand.
You are saying about
let me repeat to you. Let me repeat to you, Anand. Now this is, I am responding to you. You should be courteous enough to get my response, right? I will repeat today that what America is trying with India, or what America is trying with Russia, or what America is trying with China is foolish. Because it is not the way to negotiate.
That is for us to see.
But I have every right. I am not I don't have to kowtow to Trump. No, you may have to. I will say now, Anand, you have to. Anand, don't try to come in the way. I'm giving you a polite response. I repeat, Trump is being foolish because Indian manufacturing is poised to virtually rule global supply chains. Trump is being foolish because India is the consumer that nobody, including China, can ignore. Trump is foolish because India virtually subsidizes $1.3 trillion to the US for medicines that every second American uses. So you have to also place things in context. And I am telling you, Anand, don't take this personally. You made this, you sang this couplet, and I want to explain it to those who don't understand Hindi on the panel, including Ainar and Jeffrey. You said, "Kitne hamare yaar bichhar gaye," etc., etc., which means what a strange world we are in, where so many of our friends have left us. And you tried to say that in the context of India leaving you. You must say that in the context of Trump. Aapke kitne yaar bichhar gaye? How many friends does America have in the world today, Anand? How many nations in the world have turned completely against you?
How many countries have supported India in Operation Sindoor? Not even a single country was standing behind you.
See, Anand, if you want to, Anand, now listen to me. If you want to speak like a Pakistani on my program and make yourself happy like a Pakistani, you can.
No, I'm not a Pakistani.
You are not, but you want to speak like a Pakistani, you can. If you want to speak like this is a Pakistani line. We know how many countries supported us. What do you want?
No, you said how many countries are with United States. My question is how many countries are. Can you name a single country?
So you are frustrated today, Anand. You are frustrated today. I'll tell you why. Because the country of your origin, right, the Republic of India, is saying to the United States of America, "Go take a walk." Did you expect the ancient civilization of India?
I have more love for India than you have. You are trying to destroy Indo-US relationship.
Why would I try to destroy Indo-US relationship?
With Trump bashing, you are not going to achieve anything.
No, nobody is Trump bashing, Baba. But nobody is Trump bashing. But you need to understand. You need to understand there is a world outside America.
If you see your relationship with Biden during Pannu case, what was your relationship with America? That Khalistani Niger case, what was your relationship with Canada? You are basically the worst enemies of India when you keep on bashing all countries. You cannot achieve anything in India.
I'll open the lines and you'll realize how many of the people of this, what percentage of the people of this country are with the Republic Media Network? This is the largest network in India.
I don't care. I don't care.
It's not about fear. This is about our sentiment. We sent our teams. Remember, Anand. See, listen here. I want to bring in Ajay because it's getting too personal between you and me, and I am above that. See, Anand, listen. Anand, you were an Indian citizen, and I am an Indian citizen. There's a difference between the two.
No, I'm saying.
So my loyalty is first and last for India. Be clear about it. Your loyalty may have been with India and temporarily with America. I will not be neutral when it comes to my country. I will not be neutral.
Don't say that I am not loyal to India. Please don't say. My question is, you could have handled this situation diplomatically.
We are handling it diplomatically.
Here is your statement.
One minute. Anand, listen. I have said here, it's a firm and polite reply from the Ministry of External Affairs. I have further said that unlike your president, our Prime Minister does not believe in doing diplomacy on social media. Unlike your president, our statesman-like Prime Minister is not going to issue threats to reporters. He is responding in a statesman-like way.
I am not questioning government of India's position. I am questioning your position.
No, my position is a free. I believe that Trump is going to lose this battle. He's announced, and I gave the example of China. I'm being logical now. I'll get Ajay Bagga on this. See, what happened with China? I know Einar probably knows better on this, but I'll get Ajay and then go to Einar, then to Jeffrey. See, what happened with China? There were a series of unilateral statements by Trump. And then there was a series of unilateral rollbacks by Trump. I think every country will look at the Chinese example and the Trump's response as a sort of gauge of how things are likely to go. Ajay, would you like to respond to what a very, very incensed Anand Ahuja is saying from New York?
Yeah, overall, Mr. Ahuja, if you see, if a statesman as senior as the president of the US calls another country's policies as obnoxious, calls another country's economy as a dead economy, isn't that getting very personal and very unstatesmanlike? So let's leave that. I think you've wasted enough time in your personal attacks on Arnab. The nation really wants to know today, how should the Indian citizen react? What are we looking ahead? We have to give answers here. We don't have to do personal attacks on anybody. Whatever your constituency and whatever your political compulsions might be. Overall, if you see what has happened today, India is hit with 50% tariffs. Frankly, after 25%, it does not matter. It can be 1,000%, 5,000%. It's like the roulette that was being played with the Chinese where it went to 255. There's no trade possible. It hits at a very bad time because the Christmas orders are coming in. A lot of shipments were ready. All those things get hit. And we must understand, if somebody is making $1 billion worth of textiles to be exported out, 100,000 workers are impacted. They are the ones who are making that order. So it's not as simple as Trump just flourishing a pen and signing something. It creates a lot of trouble for a lot of poor people across the world, the working class. Now, coming to these tariffs, there's a 21-day off-ramp which has been given. I think it will be negotiated out in that. Saurabh has been giving us very good inputs throughout of the back channel talks that are going. This is posturing. This is maximalist. This is the art of the deal happening. India has a different style. Trump has a different style. Let it be. There is respect for both. However, at 50, there is no trade possible. So what are the other ramifications? What Nikki Haley said today, you're really treating a long-standing friend like this, and you're giving the Chinese a very long rope. What has the Brazilian president said? You are helping him to win again. His popularity was lower, but by interfering in the Bolsonaro case and putting sanctions on the Chief Justice of Supreme Court of Brazil. And Brazil, where you run a $24 billion surplus. So you shot yourself in the foot by putting 50% tariffs. Then you gave a carve out, oh, sorry, we didn't realize we export more to you than we import. And today Lula has come out and said, I'm not interested in talking to Trump. I'll talk to Xi, I'll talk to Modi. We will continue with BRICS. South Africa is looking at how to sell within the African continent. I'm sure the Indian government will bring out a package of subsidies and tax cuts. We are a very big domestic consumption economy. We are 60% of Indian GDP comes from domestic consumption. We'll have to make sure that this $50 billion which becomes surplus, because at 50% you can't ship it. Nobody has margins like that. It's over. The story is over at 50%. But I know Saurabh has much deeper insights than you have, and there will be back channels. There will be something
there will
happening.
Be.
India will have to cut its own taxes, make sure that this gets consumed locally. But this lesson will be remembered. Tomorrow, when you come to sell us defense equipment, we will be looking at you with suspicion that will you just have a kill switch? You will say you can't shoot towards Pakistan, you can't shoot towards China. Yes, you can shoot in the Arabian Sea. Will India buy defense material from you? Will India look at you? Where Indian students were spending $14 billion in 2023 in the US, it came down to $10 billion last year. This year, it will be less than $5 billion because you're treating them so badly. You don't get a visa. There is so much trouble at immigration. Indian students don't want to go there. That was a huge brain drain. Indian government spends on subsidies for IITs, all engineering colleges. Our best and brightest would go to the US. We are benefiting. We get $32 billion of remittances from you, from people like you who grew up in India and then went abroad, became very successful there. But no more, no more. And who's winning? UK is winning. Australia is winning. All the European countries are winning. The Indian students are at risk going to the US to study in this kind of an environment. And that is straight away revenues that you're losing. Sorry, Saurabh, you wanted to say.
No, I just want to go to Einar for a minute, Saurabh, before you come in, and Jeffrey's also been waiting. See, this is not only about economics. Before Einar's comment, I want to say, it creates a circumstance of uncertainty and hostility, which is best avoided. And now this is beginning to impact countries who have been your long-term strategic allies. And see, we have issues. Einar knows we have issues with China. We have issues with Pakistan. But if for some reason America wants to pivot on the Pakistani economy, it is welcome. And we are aware of that. There is no economy there for you to pivot on. There is no business deal to be done. It's a barren economy. Yeah, so
Pakistani economy is
there is no Pakistani economy. Pakistan is living off Chinese aid.
Maharashtra. What will they do with
there is no Pakistan's economy is smaller than some of the medium-sized Indian states. There is no economy there for you to negotiate with India. Einar, how is this going to play out, given the Chinese example? Given the Chinese experience. Einar.
Can I have one sentence?
Einar, please. Let Einar come in, please. He's been waiting. And Jeffrey hasn't spoken.
Arnab, one of the things that I really appreciated you saying was the destruction of trust. That is the greatest casualty that the world is facing. I mean, you look at the last BRICS meeting. India and Brazil did their best to make sure that there was not a strong statement, that the United States was not named directly, leaving the door open to say, look, this is non-aligned. We're not trying to make this political. This is purely about trade. But instead of responding to that positively, Trump attacked the two countries that were seemingly trying to, ratchet down the heat. Brazil got hit with 50%, and now India has gotten hit by 50%. And it seems to be a larger issue here, and that is Donald Trump does not like BRICS. He doesn't like any kind of entity where you're having countries that could be more powerful together than the United States. Remember, it's 40% of the world's GDP, which is more than twice what the US is, what the US has. It has the most resources, population, land, manufacturing together. I think it would be worth considering. I know there were problems with China, but to get together as BRICS, not as opponents of the U.S., but simply to say, look, this is nonsense. If you think that you're going to bully entity that's larger. It's not going to happen. We're going to have a joint response. If that happens, Donald Trump will have to live up to his nickname of Taco. And that I think is the real solution here. It is time to tell the playground bully that there's no more lunch money that's going to be given to him. The richest, most powerful, and militarily sophisticated country in the world cannot pretend to be the victim of other countries that have real needs. I think this is the way forward. It's not about one country. It's about all countries coming together and saying, no, this doesn't work. But remember, on the other side of this, Donald Trump is negotiating with countries around the world to see how much American consumers are going to pay more for the goods that they absolutely have to have. Tariffs are regressive taxes that hit the poor the hardest. So there are going to be domestic repercussions for the actions that he's taken. So it isn't long term, but it would be better if more countries, especially the BRICS, were to unite and say, look, enough nonsense. We're going to deal with you as one entity. And we're going to bring in the global south and other countries. We're going to make sure that you don't bully people. If there's a real reason to look at the WTO and reform it, sure, you can do that. But this idea that one country can rule all others, it's not appropriate.
Jeffrey, thank you, Arnab. Jeffrey, before Anand responds to that, how is this going to play out domestically in the US as well? I mean, I'm sure, these are not small countries you are playing with. How is this going to play out domestically? And is Trump concerned about political issues as well, given the fact that, he's not that far away from midterm? And so he seems to be wanting to do things extremely fast. Is he moving too fast? And if so, why?
Trump is an entirely transactional president. He doesn't actually have a fixed ideology. So how far Trump goes with this tariff war will really depend on what the economic outcome of it will be. I believe it will be entirely negative. Ronald Reagan certainly taught a generation of Americans that there are no winners in a trade war. India may well be damaged by Trump's tariffs, but the United States will also be damaged as well. And I think it'll be damaged not only in economic terms, but also in its sense of its position in the world. There is a famous statement in diplomacy that trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. And what I've heard right now is a massive loss of trust in the United States and its role as the leader for the past 80 years in both the liberal democratic order and also the open global trading order. And the United States really is, through these actions, withdrawing from its leadership role and damaging everyone, itself included. And I also think that Trump is speaking not from a position of strength, as he likes to pretend, but actually from a position of weakness. Really what the ultimate outcome of this actions against our ally India will be is not only to make the proud Indians resentful of the United States, make them buy less of our arms, but actually to push them towards Russia and China and away from the United States. And I am actually reminded of a statement by Henry Kissinger when asked what he thought about Trump. He said that Trump is one of those figures who appear from time to time in history when an era is ending and it has outlasted its pretensions. And the United States, at a moment when it needs allies more than ever in its competition with China, is instead pushing them away.
Why did you say, in your view, Trump is responding from a position of weakness? Could you elaborate, Jeffrey, on that?
The United States at this moment actually pays more in interest on its debt than it does in all of its national defense spending. The economy right now is actually just in a fundamentally different place from where it was in Trump's first term. And there are no longer the adults in the room in the Trump administration to tell him that his actions are going to be enormously counterproductive. So it's simply not the case that the United States can throw its weight around the world as if this were the 1990s and the United States is the sole remaining global hyperpower. The fact is that we need India. We have needed India's talent, as has been pointed out. We are mistreating the kind of young, idealistic people who've come to the United States in the hope to benefit both of our countries by starting incredible, world-changing economic enterprises. And the United States is simply handicapping itself, shooting itself not just in the foot, but maybe in some of its other more vital organs through these counterproductive actions.
Well, Anand, clearly you're in a minority of one on this panel.
I just make one sentence, okay?
Go ahead, Anand.
First of all, Arnab, I don't think there is any problem in this world that does not have a solution. But we can find a solution through a diplomatic, with a calm mind, than bashing each other. So which I'm not comfortable with.
Who's bashing whom? Who's bashing whom?
I mentioned in the very beginning, anchors in India, they are doing nothing but bashing USA and Trump.
Listen,
you have a problem.
Anand, because Anand, you need a figurehead. Anand, while I'm asking you serious questions, it appears to me, and I'll let Ajay respond to you. It appears to me that you, 1 minute, Ajay, Anand, now hear me. It appears to me that you are trying to dodge the elephant in the room, which is the long-term impact of what Trump is doing, by trying to, throw darts at me, which I am not worried about. Let's deal like adults with a serious question. You see, do you have a problem with Russia? Now, see, you have a problem with Russia. 1 minute. You see, it's always said, don't take on everything together. You're taking on Russia. You're taking on China. And you're also taking on India, and you're taking on Brazil. You're celebrating a half-hearted deal with the EU, but it's not solving your problems with the biggest nations in the world. Anand, see, I think the problem with Trump supporters is they're too radical. They're too radical.
Let's focus. Forget about US relationship with China, forget about USA relationship with Brazil. Let's focus on USA-India relationship. As I said, that negotiating teams are still working on that, and I'm very hopeful that they will have a fair trade deal. But at the same time, you have to understand that you should not compare what USA imports from India versus what USA imports from China. From China, USA is importing rare minerals. There is not a single item that India exports to USA that USA cannot import from any other country.
Please go ahead.
So you have to understand. You have to understand that basic principle. And secondly, as I said time and again,
One minute. Anand, 1 minute. In that case, why did you exempt pharma from the list of India? Why did you exempt pharma?
The pharma basically.
That's the answer. Ajay is responding to you now. Ajay.
45% of generics consumed in the US are sent from India. Tomorrow, if this goes out, your healthcare bill is already $820 billion. It will just shoot through. And he's talking about 250%. It's just not possible. Arnab, I am saying very clearly, Government of India should pass a rule tomorrow morning. 690 Boeing planes have been ordered by Indian Airlines, various airlines out of India. We should put a 200% tariff. No problem. There is no other supplier other than Airbus in the world. If you want to buy Boeings, most welcome, but you will have to pay 200% tariffs. Let's put that tomorrow. Let's see what happens then. There are hundreds of such examples.
But I further ask a question. 1 minute. I further ask a question, Jeffrey, because you made a point. If you read the Trump order, and this has been pointed out to me by someone, he says that the Secretary of Commerce should suggest tariff measures on any country which directly or indirectly uses oil from the Russian Federation. By this logic, the European Union, the United Arab Emirates are all indirect users of Russian oil. So then by this logic, they also will have 25% higher tariffs the moment the Secretary of Commerce reveals this. You have targeted India, but you've covered UAE, you've covered EU as well.
And we are sending diesel, we are sending jet aviation fuel, we are sending basic heating oil.
Correct.
It's all coming from this.
No, 1 minute.
India
Anand, 1 minute. Anand, let me get Jeffrey's.
India has not been isolated.
I am saying, 1 minute. There's a lack of logic here. You are making it discretionary. You are saying if you directly or indirectly, Anand, can I get a view from Jeffrey? See, if he's saying if you're directly or indirectly consuming Russian oil, you should have higher penalties. I have named 2 countries which therefore should now receive such penalties. Right, Jeffrey?
I would say that the Trump statement was actually almost one of calculated disrespect toward India. If you read it closely, it mentions Russia 19 times. It mentions India only 9 times. And it's true that India is now being held to a standard by which we are not holding Turkey, for example, which is a major recipient of Russian oil. And it's true we're also not penalizing the EU for its imports of Russian liquid natural gas. All these things are true. And these, of course, at a time when we, the United States, are in what is effectively a Cold War with China, competing on the grounds of scientific and technological breakthroughs. The United States has virtually no manufacturing capacity compared to China in these critical areas. We need India. And the Trump administration is alienating a friend at a most inopportune time. And it's holding it to standards that it's not holding other countries in the world to.
In fact, I'd like Einar to comment on whether this will make Saurabh. I'll go to you, Saurabh, but then I go to Einar. This will make America more dependent on more dependent on China, because this whole China plus one policy was largely, the plus one was seen to be a reference to India, which was gaining a lot from this whole process. Now, he therefore has to pivot a lot on China in the process.
This is what is worrying a lot of people. In fact, including in the administration, people believe that India is a strong US ally, and US and India both gain from each other. And the whole Indo-Pacific strategy is hinging on India and the US being together. So what's happening? So that's the reason what I was telling to you, Arnab, earlier, that behind the scenes, a lot is happening. Yes, we also need a change of gears, and I think Delhi understands it very well, that Donald Trump understands a different league of diplomacy. He relies a lot more on informal channels. He relies a lot more of the people who have been close to his business interests earlier. And obviously, New Delhi is also changing gears here. And you will see something behind the scenes. I don't want to put everything on air, but I can tell you one thing, that this relationship is too precious for both.
Yeah, sure it is. But you know, now the point is,
that's the reason why you will see some kind of a solution coming out, and that's the reason why.
Maybe or maybe not. But you know,
there is a way out.
He's made it difficult for himself. No, I won't on this one. He's made it a little difficult for himself because he's set a timeline for himself. You see, he has to come here for the Quad. Either Trump pulls out of the Quad meeting, or if Trump comes for the Quad meeting and goes back empty-handed without a deal, the onus is on Trump right now. The onus here on is on Trump to get the trade deal signed. If it is not signed, we will continue to negotiate. We took 4 years with the UK. We'll take 10 years with America. It makes no difference. Ladies and gentlemen, things interestingly poised. Great debate. And I shall see you without fail at 9 o'clock to see where this develops tomorrow. Only for tonight. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDA चटनी पुदीना मसाला।